Hello everyone, this is Chris, and when comparing Java Edition and Bedrock Edition in terms of its scale, it's easy to say that Bedrock Edition, at least in terms of the scale, is the much bigger game. However, when comparing Java and Bedrock in terms of just raw features inside the game, it's easy to say that Java Edition is easily beating Bedrock Edition in these terms. And while there's dozens and dozens of huge Java Edition features that should be on Bedrock, today I'm going to be showing 10 separate smaller Java Edition features which I almost definitely feel as though they should be in Bedrock Edition. And let's start with the first one right here, the flexible item frame placement. As we can see right here, every single item frame is able to place in a singular corner here, basically anywhere on a solid block angle right here. You can see it's able to be placed down and you're able to use it as a normal item frame. However, on Bedrock Edition, this thing right here can't necessarily happen. If you try doing that, it won't be allowed to do that. You'd only be allowed to get like one singular item frame in one singular corner, which is kind of an absolute shame because when you consider the possibilities with something like this, it really gets you sort of a, kind of disappointing in seeing it not on Bedrock Edition, because with something like that, you can make, something like a green room like what we can see right here. Yeah, I'm turning my head, looking up and down, and all we are seeing is a green right here. Well, that is because every single one of these blocks right here is actually built out of item frames right here, and some glowstone to make everything light up. But yeah, as you can see right here, all this is built out of glowstone and item frames, just being able to place on every single corner of one block, making it feel like an infinite style of a green room right here. Though, the only problem is trying to find your way out when you're trying to actually, escape this one thing. But, trying to escape the infinite green void is just one small price to pay for something that's really cool in my opinion. But something that's even cooler and something I think even more people could get behind is actually crawling. Now, we do technically have a form of crawling on Bedrock Edition, but it's sort of a janky way where you have to actually swim into the block and go underneath. Well, with Java Edition, you actually have many more options on doing this. For example, using the trapdoor, as you can see right here, and now as you can see, I am physically crawling inside this one block right here, which makes, for traversing areas and hiding traps and things like that, much easier rather than, again, just having to swim inside of one little area. So just having more opportunities for doing things like that in something that technically already does exist would just makes sense in my opinion, because again, we already do have options on actually doing something like this, but just give us more options and actually getting into crawl mode. And I guess while we're at it, we might as well add the player height change right here. As you can see when I crouch, that is actually physically changing the height of my one player, which allows me to actually go underneath areas like this. Again, apart from swimming into this one thing, there's really not any way in actually crawling into certain little crevices like what we see right here. This would be physically impossible to go inside of Bedrock Edition. And who knows, this could be maybe a technical challenge on where you actually have to, change the character's physical, attributes and actually get them to get inside of here. But again, you're able to crawl underneath there by swimming, so this shouldn't be necessarily too incredibly difficult to add inside of Bedrock. Much like the fourth small feature I'd like to see in Bedrock, the /locate biome command. And from the amount of seed searching I do, this would be an absolute time saver, an absolute game changer, and an absolute everything, because as we can see, if I type in /locate biome, this actually gives me the opportunity to look for literally any type of biome I want inside the game. If I want to know where, say a windswept hills is, then I know exactly where it is. If I want to know where any other type of biome is, then I can physically do that by typing it out, by, looking it up and then seeing exactly where it is. And again, this would just be an absolute time saver. And because we already have the /locate structure command, in my mind, this again shouldn't be too much of a technical impossibility. It just needs to know the seed you're in and where the biomes actually inhabit. Much like, again, the /locate structure command. Like, you'd be able to find structures pretty much anywhere inside your Bedrock world. So why not include the locate biome command? I mean, it just makes sense in my opinion, and it's just kind of surprising that that's not inside the game yet. And something else that surprised me isn't in the game yet is actually the furnace minecart. As you can see right here, this is a minecart that just so happens to have a furnace inside of it, which in most cases doesn't seem like too big of a deal, but when you consider the fact that if you put coal inside of it, then it will actually activate it on its own and go around and around and around. And a while ago, they did mention that this would be kind of a waste of time working on this one thing, and the fact that, you know, not too many people would use it. But, you know, if it's just a small feature, if it's something that, you know, wouldn't take too much time, and if you could just do it every now and then on working on something like this, and I could certainly see it inside the game, and I could certainly see it being useful, like, you know, decoration-wise or something like that. But this next parity change is actually kind of a surprise, because inside of Java Edition, what they actually have is completely separate book pages right here. As we can see right here, we have one page right here, we have another page right here, another one on and on and on and on and on. And on Bedrock Edition, what you actually see is 2 pages at once, which normally isn't too big of a deal, but when you consider the fact that the lectern actually incorporates into redstone, it actually limits what you can do, because say we turn to page, I don't know, 6 right here, we can see that 6 of these redstone repeaters are actually lit up. On Java Edition, you know, you can still do that, but it would be miles more limited, because if you go to, like, say, an odd number, we would never be able to get that. We would never be able to get, like, 9 redstone single from a lectern right here. So just adding just that small little change right here, or at least adding, like, you know, the gap in between every now and then on the pages to incorporate the 14 length of redstone single, which just makes sense in my opinion. And something else that would make sense is TNT dropping 100% of what it blows up, and I don't think it needs too much explanation as to what this parity feature is. Basically, you put down a TNT, you light it up, and every single block it destroys will actually drop. On Bedrock, this technically isn't really the case. It technically is just sort of a random chance of them dropping. So just having the ability of every single block being able to drop would allow farms and contraptions and things like that so much more possibility to actually happen. And obviously, I don't need to list off all the redstone contraptions that people have used this for, but again, can you imagine the change that would happen if this actually does ever get introduced inside of Bedrock Edition? Like, this would be an absolute and total game changer for, like, I don't know, mining out netherite or mining out massive tunnels like what we are accidentally doing right here. And in a similar ballpark to the item frame flexibility, I think we just need some flexible block placement opportunities. As you can see right here, these ladders actually are placed on side of trapdoors right here. On Bedrock Edition, this wouldn't be possible, as I continually say inside this one video. This would physically not be possible inside of Bedrock Edition. You would just, you know, be unable to place anything on top of here. But on Java Edition, if you want to, you could physically place ladders on top of them. It does make sense though. If it does, you know, close up, then it does pop off. But again, just having the opportunity for that to happen. And this is just one opportunity, one example right here. As we can see, there are plenty and plenty and plenty of examples right here that physically would not happen inside a Bedrock Edition. All of these would be physically impossible to happen. Even with the grindstone right here, it's physically not possible to actually float in the sky without having some support block right here. So just given the opportunity to, you know, being able to place blocks in more ways than what would normally be expected inside the game would just, again, it just makes sense to me. Or at the very least, let us place candles on top of top half slabs right here. Like, this wouldn't be possible. Again, you would need a full block, and then you have to break it, and then place the top slab right here, which makes no sense because you could already have it be placed on top of here, but you just need to do that extra little bit. It's just frustrating. It's just frustrating how limited the block placement and things like that is. And speaking of frustrating things, the number 9 thing on our list right here is actually a shulker farm, which kind of doesn't make sense on paper, but basically, if a shulker bullet manages to hit another shulker, what they'll actually do is duplicate it. And I'm going to try and show this in survival right here, but it's really difficult to actually show off. And will this happen? Is this going to happen? Probably not right here, but if we manage to actually get them to hit themselves, then what they will actually do is duplicate, and that one hit right there, but it doesn't actually happen every single time, as Java Edition players would know thick and thin right here. They don't always actually, you know, duplicate themselves unless they're duping someplace else that we're not seeing. But yeah, on occasion, if they do get hit by another shulker bullet, then they'll actually duplicate, which just makes it for such an easier way in actually getting shulker boxes or something like that, rather than having to travel tens of thousands of blocks over and over and over again to find the exact same cities over and over and over again. Just having that option, at least, to farm shulkers would just just, again, I keep saying this in this one video, but it would just make sense in my opinion. And speaking of possibilities inside the game, the number 10 Dolphin Grace thing would just, again, I keep saying this over and over and over inside this one video, but having proper Dolphin Grace inside the game would just make so much sense, because if you've never seen this before, if you've never seen what actual Dolphin Grace actually looks like, then let me just put on some diamond boots with Depth Strider 3 in, because when the Depth Strider and the Dolphin's Grace actually occurs, what you can see is you swim so much faster than what you would normally expect. As we can see, we are going probably, at a guess, maybe 4 or 5 times faster than what you would normally expect, and on Bedrock Edition, there is technically Dolphin's Grace, but it really isn't anything even close to compared to this. And even if we take the boots off for a minute, then we can still see the fact that Dolphin's Grace still works really well, as we can see right here. I never knew I was this good of an acrobatic swimmer, but apparently so. So let me know what you think of these 10 parity changes down below in the comments. Let me know if there's any specific parity changes you'd like to see inside of Bedrock Edition, but for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.